Hello students of class 6. Welcome to the online tutorial classes for Vidya Bhavan High Secondary School. This video is for class 6 life science and the chapter that I am going to discuss today is the adaptation of plants and animals. This video is part 2 from this chapter. In the previous video, we discussed that there are many adaptations of plants and animals, and mainly for the plants, the adaptations can be of 5 types, like the adaptation of the hydrophytes, adaptation of the mesophytes, adaptation of the xerophytes, adaptation of the plants grow in mountains, and adaptation of the aerial plants. In this video, we will start with the adaptations of the hydrophytes. First, it is the first part. Okay, so first let's discuss that what is hydrophytes. So the hydrophytes are the plants that live in water and also called the aerial plants or aquatic plants or hydrophytes. Okay, so let me write the definition of it. Okay, so what is hydrophytes? Hydrophytes are mainly the plants that live in water. So the adaptations are all about the living in water, their structural changes, the structural and the behavioral changes are there. So some examples of the hydrophytes are hyacinth, hydrilla, etc. So one new term that I also learned that you're going to learn, that is mesophytes. What do you mean by mesophytes? The mesophytes are the plants that require the water and the soil as well. Okay, so the plants required water and soil both to live are called the mesophytes. Mainly the normal moist herbs and the normal animals normal plants are in this mesophytes. Examples, all herbs. Okay, and then the xerophytes. Xerophytes means are the plants who live in the extreme conditions. Okay, that means in the deserts. The plants that live in a dry and hot environment. Examples can be of cacti or cactus, babul, etc. So this is all about that. After that, we are going to discuss about different kind of the hydrophytes with the picture. So let's check.
Now we are going to talk about the adaptations of the hydrophytes, mainly the aquatic plants. The first one is the free-floating hydrophytes. Hydrophytes are mainly out of following types like four: free-floating, free-floating and rooted, submerged and rooted, and submerged and floating. So the first one is free-floating hydrophytes. So here the free-floating hydrophytes are the plants float freely on the surface of the water. They are not attached to the soil. For example, water hyacinth, the duckweed, etc. There are much more examples. Many examples are there. You can see the pictures like lemma, salvinia, azolla, zolfia, pistaria, etc. The second picture is on the rooted floating hydrophytes. They are also called free floating and rooted hydrophytes. So, in these plants, the roots are fixed in the soil and the leaves remain afloat due to the long petioles. For examples, lotus, water lily, you can see. Okay, so these are the pictures of free floating and rooted free floating. Here you can see the examples along with the pictures that you can understand that what are the differences between them. This is rooted submerged hydrophytes. These plants remain submerged in water and are rooted to the soil. For example, Vallisneria and Hydrilla and Potamogeton. The three pictures you can see, they all are submerged in the water but rooted are fixed. Okay. The next picture is the Atricularia. It is the type of submerged and floating hydrophytes. These plants are completely submerged in water and are not rooted in the soil. So here you can see they are floating, but the full part is submerged but not rooted. Okay. So now let's discuss some adaptations of the hydrophytes and like that. The submerged part of the hydrophytes are covered with mucilage, which protects the plants from decaying. Secondly, the stems are spongy and very flexible. They have a number of air spaces on them that help them to float. The stems of water lily or lotus have large tunnels and holes for air that help the plants to float. Sometimes the stems are inflated to store large quantity of air also. The leaves of the submerged plants like Hydrilla are very long, narrow and sometimes ribbon shaped. Such leaves allow the water to pass through them very easily. This is the picture of the combination of different types. Here you can see the Hydrilla, Wolffia, Lemna, Lily, Lotus and many more. The next adaptation of the hydrophyte is the floating leaves are very large, like the lotus leaves and the lily leaves. Their waxy upper surface they have to make them fully waterproof. They have stomata on the upper surface which are exposed to air. For example, like water lily and lotus that I told you. The next adaptation is all hydrophytes have a special tissue called erenchyma. Eren means air, chyma means cell or tissues. It provides bouncy and flexibility. Mechanical tissues are very poorly developed. The roots are either absent or poorly developed. So these are all adaptations of the hydrophytes. Okay. So now I think you understood what are the hydrophytes are and what are their adaptations.
So in this video, we discussed about the different kind of the hydrophytes. In the next video, we will discuss about more like mesophytes, xerophytes and the adaptation of the plants grow in mountain and aerial plants. Till then, thank you.